Hello everyone, my name is Dean, or some of you might know me as Hellboy. That's the name that I stream under and play Tekken under. I am a South Florida fighting game player, and I'm also a New College of Florida economics alumni. I wanted to make this video today to kind of give to the esports club or anyone interested in esports at New College, kind of explain some of the basics of fighting games. Now, I'm going to make a few other videos talking a little bit more specifically about the game that I play, Tekken, but today we're going to try and keep it broad for all fighting games and talk about frame data. Alright, so let me go ahead and pull Tekken up. Alright, so this is the practice mode. So Jin here on the right, he's going to do whatever I tell him to. He's just a training dummy, and I am on the left here, right? You'll see I have these boxes pulled up with a bunch of numbers in them. These are going to kind of help me explain frame data. The one on the left is the one describing, my moves, and the one on the right are going to describe kind of his situation. So let's first talk about what frames are. Frames are just a measure of time. They're kind of intimidating when you first get into fighting games. You see these big spreadsheets of moves and their frame data, but it's actually quite simple. At its base, which is they're just a measure of time specific to fighting games. Fighting games run at 60 frames per second, so all a frame is a 60th of a second. It's used to measure the amount of time that moves, usually attacks, but also sometimes, how long it takes to do a certain movement. It's just a means of measuring how long that will take. Now, when we're describing an attack's, time, it's frames, it's split into three categories, right? So there are startup frames, active frames, and recovery frames, right? So startup frames, which is that first row you see on that box on the left side, that's how long it takes to go from being in an idle, neutral position to being at a point where the move can do damage, right? So for this move, this jab here, it's Brian's fastest move, it's 10 frames, right? It takes a 1/6 of a second for this move to get to the point where it can do damage. Once it's at the point where it can do damage, those are called active frames. Now, some moves, like this one, only have one active frame. Others, like this, have more than one. Essentially, active frames are the point at which the move can do damage. That's the period of time where they're actually able to hurt you. And so this one here has, sorry, not that one. This one here has multiple active frames. So essentially what that means is that while I'm in that duration, they could potentially walk into that move and get hit by the second or the third active frames, right? So the way to think about active frames is like a lightsaber. A lightsaber is all active frames, right? Once it's on, it doesn't matter if you touch it slow or fast, it's going to hurt. Whereas a baseball bat, if you just touch it, it's not going to hurt. You need to start up, and then you get to the active frames where it does damage, and then you pull it back as recovery frames. Which leads into the third, recovery frames. Recovery is the threatening part of the move is over, the part that does damage, but you still have a certain amount of time before you get back to a position where you can defend yourself or you can make another action. So in fighting games, you have to make a conscious decision to either be on offense or be on defense. You can't attack while blocking, right? So when you choose to make a move, you can't move or do a different move until that move is over. And likewise, right, you can block whenever you want, but once you're actually blocking an attack that your opponent is throwing at you, you have to wait until the animation of you blocking that move is over before you can move or have any other action, right? So what the term frame advantage, like you see on the second row of those boxes there, what that describes is that when you interact with each other, when you go over and hit him with something or he blocks something, which one of you is going to recover first is essentially what that's saying, and it measures it in frames. So a move like this has advantage. This puts me at +4, you see on the left in blue. This means that me as the attacker, I'm going to recover 4 frames before the blocker will. Now there are other moves such as this one, which put me at a -16 disadvantage. So that means that I'm going to recover 16 frames after him. So the reason this is important is if I go up to him and I do this move, and then afterwards I do a move that takes 14 frames, it will come out just as fast as if he did a 10 frame move as fast as he could, because I get plus 4 frames. I'm at a 4 frame advantage in terms of time. Likewise, with this move, if I did a 10 frame move after this minus 16 on block move, it's going to come out in 26 frames. And so that's just kind of the idea of frame advantage. It's just a way of when people interact, who is going to recover first. And in fact, it leads into punishing. So you see this here is minus 16, right? Jin has moves that are faster than 16 frames. So he can actually, as soon as he's done blocking, use one of those attacks. And it's guaranteed to hit me because I'm not yet able to block. I have 16 more frames before I'm able to block or move. That's called a block punish, right? You blocked a move that was risky, that was disadvantageous significantly on block, and you're able to get a guaranteed punish for them trying to use that move. Generally speaking, moves that are disadvantageous on block usually have some other strength to make them good. And similarly, there is also whiff punishing. So what a whiff is when you throw a move out and it doesn't hit them at all. They don't block, they don't get hit, it just missed. Now, if they hit you during this is called a whiff punish. So, punishing happens when you're hit during recovery frames, right? So, startup frames, if you get hit during your startup frame, it's called a counter hit, right? They opened up their defense to try to attack you, and you hit them before they could. That's a counter hit. That usually gives you some kind of reward, you know, a bigger combo or more damage, whatever. If you get hit during your active frames, then you're both hitting each other. It's like the action movie where you're both punching each other in the face, right? You both get hit by whatever properties the move had. You both take the damage, and whoever wins is just basically whoever's move was more threatening. And then if you get hit in your recovery frames, like I mentioned, that's called a punish, right? So that's the essential idea of frames. It's just a way of measuring time. And you don't actually have to memorize those big spreadsheets that you'll see sometimes. Those are more for reference, you know. You'll be trying out a move and you'll be like, you know, well, what's the frame data on this? And you can just go and consult one of those spreadsheets to find that out. Or you can go into practice mode and just have him do it to you, and you can see, you know, how advantageous or disadvantageous the move is. And it's important to understand this because there's a lot of moves that are really good, and their glaring weakness, the thing that makes them not good or not as good as they seem, is the fact that they're punishable. And that if you do block the move, the other person is guaranteed to take damage if you know about it. So yeah, that's the essential idea. I do want to close by giving you just a little bit of a tip on like how to apply this in a match besides just, you know, learning some of your punishes. You want to try and learn movement too, in basically any fighting game you play. Getting good movement helps because I showed before that this move here puts me at a frame advantage as the attacker. You don't want to be blocking all the time because you never know when a move like that is coming, and now you're essentially getting punished for blocking. It's why you can't just block all the time and wait for them to do risky moves. Blocking can put you at risk. It makes you idle, and it lets them kind of make the decisions and dictate the pace and like what kind of moves are going to be used. So the best thing to do is to be able to move around so that a lot of the time when they try to attack you, they whiff instead. So not only do you not have to deal with blocking, but you still get a chance to punish them. There are rare situations where you know, blocking a move is better than you know, trying to whiff punish it. But in general, on average, you know, just try to get out of the way and punish the move. And that'll be very hard when you start, but as you get better and you get more comfortable with moving around quickly, you'll be able to get out of the way of lots of attacks. And actually, I'll do a fun video on how to Korean backdash, how to wave dash, and some of the other more advanced you know, movement options in Tekken, and teach you guys how to, you know, get out of the way of some of this stuff. But yeah, thank you. Go ahead and follow me on Twitch at HellboyT7. And if you guys have any questions, just shoot me a message. I'll link the Core Gaming video down below. Thank you so much.